This podcast is also available via stagelink.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts. Please support the podcast by liking, subscribing, commenting, and tagging the podcast. It helps us to continue to bring the industry high level content. I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto, and my guest on today's Circuspreneur podcast is circus clown in training, Braeden Schilling Smith, also known as Henri the Hilarious. Welcome to the podcast, Braeden.
Thank you so much. One thing quickly, I'm sorry. It's only with French pronunciation because I named my character after one of my favorite French artists, Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, who
Oh,
was very into painting, not Cirque du Ville, but one of the most famous impressionist paintings of circuses is done by him. So I kind of wanted to take a love of it's not really classical art, but like fine art and circus and just combine it.
well, that's brilliant. So we have the American version, Henry, or we have Henri. Henri. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. Thank you for the circus history, Braeden. And let's
Of
go
course.
into a little bit about your bio. Braeden first got interested in clowning and circus arts when he was 7, right after going to a Ringling Brothers show. The second he saw the clowns, he decided he wanted to be one of them someday. Practically the moment Braeden walked out of that show, he started learning everything he could about clowning and the circus. For the next 10 years, Braeden read every book he could find, practiced performing on his own, and binge watched YouTube videos. When he was 17, he joined the Colorado Clown Alley, where he trained and performed with other clowns. That's when he started building his clown persona, Henri. At 18, he began auditioning for circuses, diving into the world he'd been dreaming about since he was a kid. After graduating high school, he decided to take it a step further and apply to circus school, which Braeden is currently getting ready to do. Braeden, or Henri the Hilarious, hopes that attending circus school will help prepare him for his future circus career. And you have quite a bit of circus history, which we just heard, Braeden, which was really
Mm-hmm.
brilliant and spectacular, of where you created your stage name. And that was actually one of the things that I was going to ask you at the beginning of the podcast. How did you come up with Henri the Hilarious? And you said it so well with such a beautiful accent, because
Mm-hmm.
having a stage name, I think, is one of the most important things that you can do, but it's also one of the hardest things to kind of develop for yourself. And you took us through a beautiful journey of how you came to that, that resolution of, this is going to be how I present myself into the circus world. And can you share a little bit about why you think it's so important to have a stage name, other than the beautiful presentation that you just did, Braeden?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Thank you. Um, for not just with circus, but for a lot of art and performance in the modern world, some of the most notable performers and artists go by not their real name. My One of my favorite musicians, Lady Gaga. No one outside of a select few know her by her real name. And at this point, at least to me, Lady Gaga's become an icon. And I was thinking, I kind of want to choose a name that's iconic like that, but for clowning. And so I um, just brainstormed a lot, and I went through a good deal of different names, personas, little character development until I settled on the one I have now.
That's amazing. And I love that you use Lady Gaga as a reference. And I also, too,
Mm-hmm.
have a stage name. Most of us do. I mean, some people think that my full name is a stage name, Shanae Stiletto, which, because Shanae is a really historical term in ballet. It's like one of the first terms that you use in a first I think it's one of the first turns where you learn to spot, I think, correctly in ballet. So anyhow, most people think that Shanae is a stage name, but it's not. That is my real name. And then the stiletto part is something that I came to later in life. But so many of us have that. And it's really important. It's not just your persona, it's usually how people will be able to remember you. It's trying to catch people's attention about you, connecting it to something that makes people think about you easier. It can help you get jobs because people like the way that your stage name sounds. And it, is usually connected now to all of our social media. Most of us don't use our full, like, we say like government names. Yeah, so it's really important to remember someone's stage name because that could be the difference between somebody knowing who you're talking about or not and being able to facilitate an opportunity for them. What were you going to say?
Mhm. Um, One, I really like this your stage name. I love alliteration. Maybe you could tell,
Thank
and
you,
I
Braden.
think it's alliteration like what we both have. Only Hilarious for me, Shanae Stiletto for you. Like alliteration is great with branding.
Yes, it is so important to build yourself as a brand in the circus industry. And the sooner that you do it, the better. There are some super iconic brands out there. There are some people I honestly don't even know what their real name is. And that's a testament to who they are. And, that also happens just because people don't go by their regular names. But I've known some people for years. And, if you asked me what their real name was, I wouldn't be able to tell you like right away. I would tell you their stage name first and then maybe have to like work on it and to try to remember, which is not a bad thing. It's a great name. It shows that they've done their work and projecting themselves as a brand, like you said, Braden. And so I think that this is a really great podcast to have with you, Braden, a really great idea to introduce an artist that wants to be in this business, that wants to be a part of this industry, and then also wants to share their personal experiences of what they're going through now, because we talked about this before the podcast, Braden, that this could really
Mhm.
help other artists that want to get into this business. Maybe they're, it doesn't matter what age you are, because we know that, circus workers start at all ages, trying to get into this business. But I wanted to present your journey in the hopes of
Mhm.
supporting folks that are interested in taking your journey from circus inspiration to ultimate maybe circus school, then to subsequent circus career, and those can kind of all mesh in within one another. That's kind of how it works. You can start working even while being in circus school. So let's start from there, Braden, about your inspiration to get into this business. You were talking to me right before we got on about kind of the difficulties that you see about breaking into this business, and this podcast is projected to help anyone that's interested learn how to break into it a bit easier. So let's share your experience on that, Braden. Why do you feel like it's so hard to break into the circus industry?
Mhm. I It's not like a typical industry like um business where you pursue a degree at almost any school, and I mean not almost any, but you understand what I mean.
Hmm.
And then once you have a degree, you can go and do whatever side of business you want. It's not like that where you have a degree and you are immediately, I don't want to say guaranteed because that's not true as we're increasingly seeing, but it is that you have, sorry, better chances of getting into that industry instead of with circus, which is incre- I'm sorry, extremely competitive, and I've encountered a lot of gatekeeping, and I don't want to talk about this a lot, but this one specific portion, but I also feel like there is a good deal of nepotism in the industry. And I think that really, similarly to the film industry, music, and politics, In fact, my high school graduation essay was about that. It's all a big combination of things that prevent young first generation performers like myself, I'm only 19, who, as I said it in my bio, and as you said so perfectly, thank you, I've wanted this for a majority of my life. So it's kind of difficult to go from a mindset then that's like, oh, I'll get in.
Mm.
This is easy because there's so much media around like running away with the circus. Like, oh, it's this easy thing. There's a circus. You go up, you say, hey, I want to perform. And I'm not saying this doesn't happen, because it probably does. But it's not that easy, especially when there are practical dynasties of families who are who have been in the industry and, let's be honest, kind of dominate it. Whether you think that's good or bad is your own opinion. And I think it's a little bit of both. But like, they have all these experience, they have this experience, and there are people from those families, and there are people like me who want to break in. So that's just made it so competitive. And there's not like a book like how to get into the circus for dummies, or that series is still published, right?
Yes, and that would be a great one. I love it,
Oh
Braden.
yeah, I should reach
It's
out to
definitely out
them.
there. Tell them to call me too.
Mhm.
We can help out.
And like, there weren't things on YouTube, at least that I've seen, that are like a step-by-step guide to like, this is how you get in. So it's really hard to figure out.
I it takes a concerted effort, Braden, which is what you're discussing, and I like that you put it in the vein of industry because most people just don't even look at the circus arts as an industry at all. They think it's like what you said. You just run away to it. Anybody will just hire you from out of nowhere. You can kind of just like step into, a school. You can step into a job. You don't have to train very much, or it's just kind of handed to you. Or, and even if you come from a pretty rigorous or like, multifaceted background, people still think that your ascension into the circus arts was really, really easy, which I like to remind folks, even my pathway here creating a career and becoming a circuspreneur and getting into this business and being self-started, which most of us have to be, is not easy. Even if you came from like a really big gymnastics career, or you came even from the best circus school, any of those things, you have to learn what it's like to be in this business. And I find that a lot of circus schools don't teach this, like what you're saying too, Braden. They don't give a step-by-step guide of, once you even have your performance and you have your act, how to be a business person or an entrepreneur in this industry, which is really what it takes to be able to exist in this. You can go into a lot of environments and maybe have one great job, and it might not lead to another job. And there is, a type of perspective and a type of way that you have to move and shake in this industry to make sure that you can maintain a career, make sure that you can maintain a contract, make sure that you're in the proper networks that are, that would be valuable to you, that would help you to stay in this. And it's constantly evolving. That's the other thing about the industry. And I love what you talked about in terms of circus industries and circus families. Not all of us come from a circus family. I also too didn't come from a circus family, and I have worked with circus families for years, where it is sometimes it's a lot of cousins, and if you don't know the right cousin, you're maybe not going to fall into that position, or it's because you do know a cousin and a cousin likes you and they bring you into the show. And that is very real. Even to this day, I would say that the industry is evolving a lot more, and it has over, the past, few decades, where there isn't, I think, as strong of a hold of the circus industry families on this industry, but it's definitely a part of how this environment moves and shakes. And you definitely have to be attuned to that, which you are so brilliantly. I would love
Mhm.
for you to go into, Braeden, in why you want to go into circus school. First off, what do you think that circus school is going to do for you, how it's going to benefit you, and where does your passion for clowning come from? I know that you saw Ringling when you were young, and that ignited your excitement and your joy around it, but what's kept you engaged around the excitement of clowning? Because clowning is also an original art form that's changing a lot too. It's not necessarily what it was even, I would say, 10 years ago. There's not, I think, the same access of clown colleges like there used to either, from what I understand of talking to folks that are in the clowning industry too. So you are really kind of branching out onto an art form that is really changing right now from what it has historically been in the past. So how did that feel?
Well, as I told you before recording, I about an hour ago got off of a Q&A Zoom for people who want to apply for NECA, which is one of the, as I've heard, one of the best circus schools in the US. And the thing for me about circus school is it's the creation of the foundations. Like,
Mm.
I want to not just know how to know how to do physical comedy, but I also want to both perfect that and learn new skills. I am fascinated by tightrope walking, not high up though. I have a thing about heights, but lower would be great. And there are other circus disciplines that I find interesting that I would not want to pursue as like a full career, but I'd like to incorporate into what I have to offer and my acts. And I think circus school is the perfect environment for that because there are people there whose job and who have dedicated their time to teaching the next generation of performers. And I think if I want to, which I do, pursue a circus career, I think that's the next logical step to get myself from where I am now to like I want to be the first queer person to perform or win at Monte Carlo. That's like my big overall arching goal is to be at least one of the first.
That's
I don't know
amazing.
if there's I don't know if there's already been a queer person to perform or win, but as far as I know, um I'd like to be the first.
That's an amazing goal. And
Mhm.
I hope that you make it there, Braeden, because that's a phenomenal goal. And so to go into your love of clowning, what continues that fire inside of you, Braeden, to explore this art form, also to, like you said, physical comedy, what keeps that passion going for you? And who inspires you, other than where you got your likeness, your name, your stage name, Henri Hilarious? Who else inspires you in this industry, to want to take it, to places like Monte Carlo?
What keeps me going on clowning is that I don't want to describe it in this way, but it's the best way I can put it. But it's performing, especially making people laugh, has this almost euphoric, drug like sensation. I don't know how to describe it anything else, but it feels just so good. And I'm certain it's addictive to performers, and it's addictive to me. It's just making people happy, and performing for people makes me happy. And I want to make people laugh, and I want to spread joy. That's what keeps me going.
That's what keeps me going too. Do you have more to add to that?
Um, yes. It's, I've always been a person who cares a lot about others.
Hmm.
And so that's where wanting to make people happy probably comes from. And to be completely honest, one of the biggest things about clowning I love is costuming, the makeup. It's just, I don't know what it is, but putting on makeup, getting into clown persona, taking whatever stressors or anxiety I have out in my personal life, taking that off and just getting into the mind of a clown. It's so cleansing, and it's really therapeutic to go out there and make people happy.
Mhm. Yes. I love that. I have felt that way many times when I've gone on stage where my day maybe hasn't been going so well, or my week hasn't been going so well. And then as soon as I step on stage and as soon as I step off stage, the ability to just release all of the burdens that have been going on. I mean, sometimes it's a burden to get on stage, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
many times it's the burdens within our personal lives that you can just the audience just gives you so much. They uplift you, and they uplift you, I think, right out of those burdens and being maybe stuck in your own mind. And I feel like performing has really gotten me out of my own way and out of my own mind so many times. And then the rest of my day or the rest of my week is like amazing because I feel so, like you said, cleansed. It is like therapy. And there's actually, this new initiative, Braden, which I think is really interesting, where they want to prescribe the circus arts for folks as medicine. So it can be your prescription that a doctor writes for you to go and see a show, to go see theater, or to go to see circus art. So we already know that our art form heals and cleanses and brings joy and upliftment, and then it will now, hopefully in the future, be mandated where it's an actual prescription of medicine.
Oh my God, I love that. And I think the entire world should get to prescribe that.
I think it's awesome. And so, who inspires you? Is there anyone specific that inspires you in this industry that you would like to give, your perspective on or give love to, about how they make you feel, or a career trajectory that they've had that you kind of are basing that on? Or do you not have anyone? Because not everybody has someone that they're specifically looking up to in this business. I have a whole host of performers that I've loved their careers over the years. Some of them are still performing. Some, stopped performing even before I started to become a performer. And I've based a lot of what I do in my career off of them. Even now, I'll just go back to thinking about what would they do, even now. And then
Mhm.
like that gives me ideas and kind of propelled me forward creatively. So is there anyone like that for you? Or is it mostly just inspiration you take from other places or other artists outside of circus?
I mean, yes and no. There are so many other, not just clowns, but jugglers, acrobats, every people from so many disciplines, and just circus performers in general are so inspiring. And I think everyone, whether you're an established performer, or someone like me who's just trying to get started, or someone who has no interest in the circus at all, should look to circus performers for inspiration, because there is so much determination and ambition. But almost all of the people I've interacted with are super nice.
That's lovely to hear. I'm glad that
And
everyone's been
oh,
nice.
sorry. hmm
It's okay.
And obviously, like, there are probably some people out there who aren't really nice. I've gotten replies from casting directors that were quite rude, but I still have to look at the ratio. Oh my god, I'm using math terms. I never thought that would happen. But if you
Brilliantly.
look at thank you. If you look at the ratio of not very nice people to nice people, there's so many more nice people. And that's something I just love about the circus community is, for the most part, everyone's really welcoming. And I have made so many friends via networking on Instagram and just reaching out to people who I can ask for advice, like, hey, I wrote this, I'm not really sure if it's good. Could you please give me some advice, or ask for tips on makeup, or how to write an application for an audition, stuff like that. And so many people I have reached out to are like, yeah, sure, I'll look over this for you, or oh, you should fix this. I like this, but maybe you should try this. And there's so much collaboration, and there are people who have upfront told me, oh, this is some what I'm do have told me what I'm and I'm not I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember it, but they said what I'm doing for you is what I wish someone had done for me. And it's like paying it forward.
Hmm. That's so
So
special.
I want to do that for, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience yet, but once, like, I performed in circuses, and once I have an established career, I'd love to be that person for young performers to reach out to and be like, hey, I really admire you. Or not even say that, but that's what I say, because it's like, it's always good to be nice to people.
Yes.
And if you approach it like, oh, I really admire you, but I have a question, or I need some advice, oh my god, I just love to be that person, like an informal mentor for someone, and to help them get to where they want to go.
That's beautiful, Braden. That is really beautiful. I am happy to hear that you've been positively received and that you feel like people within the circus world and circus industry have been kind to you, because that's what I want to hear. And I think it's a big reminder to all of us to stay kind in this business, to
Mhm.
mentor, to put things out. That's why I started the podcast, because I thought about putting out a podcast for years, and I put it out because I always thought this is something that I would have really loved to have had access to when I was an up and coming performer years ago, and how many questions I had, and how so many things were just kind of like winging it, or, reaching out to people, but, having to do a completely different groundwork than kind of what exists today, even though it wasn't that long ago. But I'm happy to hear that you feel a community here within the circus arts industry. I think that is so important. I think that we are a really interesting and diverse community, and that so many of us do try and assist and help each other. And, to close out the podcast, Braeden, I want to remind listeners about your journey, that you are up and coming, that you will and want to succeed in having this career in the circus as a professional clown, that you want to perform, that you want to perform all over the world or just in America. Everybody has different goals. I don't want to put goals in your
No,
mouth.
all over the world.
All over the
I
world. Braeden
want
wants
to
to be
make
known all
as
over the
many
world.
people happy.
As many people as possible. So you are coming to a show near them. And then also, too, for folks that are interested in continuing to help Braeden on his journey, Braeden, how can we find you on social media? How can we contact you so that the community and that listeners that are interested in supporting your journey, which I know there will be many, can help you?
Mhm. Oh my god, that'd be awesome. The best way is on my Instagram. I'm gonna need to check it on my phone because I don't have it memorized. So bear with me. At only HENRI_hilarious the clown. It's all one word, all lowercase.
Thank you. So everyone can find Henri, the Hilarious, or Braeden on social media. Reach out to him. And again, everyone, this is a great reminder of speaking to someone like Braeden, who is trying to get into this business, that our kindness as professionals goes a long way. That no matter where you are at in your career, remember to be open to our future generations, to be kind to them, to be receptive, to help to undo that gatekeeping that Braeden was discussing, he feels is one of the biggest hurdles to getting into this business, something that I
Mhm.
speak about on this podcast all the time, and something that you hear throughout several generations, either previous or up and coming. So let's try and break these barriers for clowns and for performers like Braeden so that he can have an easier time getting into this business than we did. Thank you again so much, Braeden, for coming on to the
Of
Circuspreneur
course, thank you
podcast.
for having me, and thank you for listening when I reached out. I was actually I expected, like, yeah, she's probably really busy. I might not hear back, but when I heard back from you, oh my god, it was just like, oh my god, I might be able to like get both my not just my story out there, but like that someone like me in my same position can listen and be like, he's going through what I'm going through too. And I, like I said earlier, I want to make people happy, but I also want to achieve my goals in this industry. And if I get to do those both at the same time, well, then that's perfect.
Well, that's what you're doing, Braeden. You are a guiding light and reminding other artists out there that they are not alone on their journey, that there is someone just like them, which is you, Braeden, on the same journey, whether it be easy, difficult, and multifaceted and multi-layered. And I was very happy to respond to you, Braeden, and to give you this opportunity. And that's part of the reason that I provide the podcast. And so thank you again for contacting me and for tuning into the
Mhm.
podcast, Braeden. And also too, acknowledging that it is a resource for you that makes you feel like you can get into this business with some type of assistance and folks that are speaking your language, your circus language, and that hopefully the Circuspreneur podcast can continue to be a guiding light for you and help you to navigate this industry better. And so I will close out this episode with the Circuspreneur podcast is also available on stagelink.com, stagelync stagelink.com. Stagelink.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts that provides unmatched access and connection to this vibrant world of shows and entertainment. If you're a professional in the performing arts, visit stagelink.com/pro. Stagelink Pro, STAGELYNCPRO, offers industry professionals higher visibility, networking opportunities, and tools to support and enhance their careers. Until next time, everyone, I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto. Again, please like, subscribe, tag, and comment on the podcast.